This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
Hello and welcome to News9, and you are watching On Point. I'm Kartikeya Sharma and I have 3 on points lined up for you. In On Point 1, we discuss about Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, who is the son of slain leader Ali Khamenei. The big question is, has Islamic Revolution turned dynastic? In On Point 2, with oil surging and energy infrastructure under threat in West Asia, could the world be heading towards another oil shock? In On Point 3, we will discuss about how the widening Iran war is threatening China's billion-dollar economic footprint across West Asia. Now let's take a quick look at the headlines. Ship traffic comes to a standstill in the Strait of Hormuz after multiple attacks around 10 Hello and welcome to News9, and you are watching On Point. I'm Kartikeya Sharma and I have 3 on points lined up for you. In On Point 1, we discuss about Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, who is the son of slain leader Ali Khamenei. The big question is, has Islamic Revolution turned dynastic? In On Point 2, with oil surging and energy infrastructure under threat in West Asia, could the world be heading towards another oil shock? In On Point 3, we will discuss about how the widening Iran war is threatening China's billion-dollar economic footprint across West Asia. Now let's take a quick look at the headlines. Ship traffic comes to a standstill in the Strait of Hormuz after multiple attacks around 10 vessels targeted, raising security concerns in strategic waterway. Iran warns oil could hit $200 a barrel if US-Israel don't end game. MV Manali ship stranded near Bandar Abbas port with 20 Indians, crew appeals for rescue. External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar speaks on West Asia conflict in Parliament, assures every effort is being made to rescue those stuck in Gulf, says Prime Minister is closely monitoring the situation. Indian rupee hits all-time low, currency hits 92.50 against US dollar as oil prices surpass $100 amid West Asia tensions. So the big question is Islamic Revolution dead? It has definitely turned dynastic. Has it forgotten its ideals of 1975 when they fought the dynasty, and now the revolution itself has turned dynastic? Because Iran has entered a new and a controversial chapter in its history. Tehran has named Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of slain supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, as the country's new supreme leader. For the first time since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, the leadership of the Islamic Republic has effectively passed from father to son. And that raises a fundamental question. Has the Islamic Republic become the very monarchy it once overthrew? The revolution of 1979 toppled the Shah and promised to end hereditary rule in Iran forever. Power, the revolutionaries said, would belong to the people and not to dynasties. But today that promise is under scrutiny. Mojtaba Khamenei has long operated in the shadows of power. He rarely appeals in public. He rarely speaks, yet within Iran's inner circle he has been deeply influential. For years he reportedly coordinated security and military affairs from his father's office. He is known to have close ties with the powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps that dominates Iran's military, politics and economy. And in the middle of the war with the United States of America and Israel, Iran's clerical establishment appears to have closed ranks. The Assembly of Experts, 88 senior clerics, chose Mojtaba Khamenei, even as Israel strikes continue across the country. Supporters say the choice ensures continuity and stability in wartime. Critics say something very different. They say the Islamic Revolution has turned dynastic. So the big questions are clear. Has Iran's revolution come a full circle? Will Mojtaba Khamenei rule differently from his father? And what does this mean for the war with Israel and the United States of America? On this issue, I'm joined by Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, former Indian diplomat, and Dr. Zakir Hussain, Middle East Affairs expert and ex-research fellow, Indian Council of World Affairs. Let me straight away go to Ambassador Dayal first. So my question is, does killing of the top leader lead to the collapse of command structure in Iran?
No, I don't think it leads to the sort of toppling of the command structure. Because let's face it, Iran has a very well-knit clergy, and that is still intact despite the assassination of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And at the same time, the IRGC is also very well organized, and that is the real force in Iran. So while Ayatollah Khamenei and some of his top commanders and top associates may have been assassinated, with the IRGC and the top clergy continuing to wield authority, the regime is quite intact and will count as a political force of great consequence. Now, let me also mention that in your introductory comments, you referred to certain, insinuations or certain allegations or accusations that the new system is also somewhat dynastic. Now, the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran overthrew the Pahlavi dynasty and replaced it with the Islamic Republic. This revolution had been led by Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and it ended 2,500 years of monarchical rule in Iran. Now, despite its anti-monarchical origins, the Iranian political system is now facing accusations of becoming dynastic in its own right. And this is because Mojtaba Khamenei has been officially named the third supreme leader of the Islamic Republic by the Assembly of Experts. Now, Mojtaba Khamenei has become the supreme leader, and in fact, many feel that the real power will continue to rest with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps.
Okay, so that was my second question to Dr. Hussain. That is, supreme leader's survival relevant to the perpetuation of the power structure, because anyhow they have divided the entire country into 31 commands. Despite decapitation of Khamenei and subsequently Mojtaba getting hurt, 31 IRGC commanders are working independently.
Before him it was. After the death of Khamenei, until his selection, all the 31 were the modus operandi through which they are working. It gave sense that they were working independently, autonomously, and with less coordination. And this was also not possible to establish a control and command at one place when there was heavy bombardment and targeting of the top brass of the Iranian regime. So, but now what I feel that with this selection of Mojtaba, a couple of message has been delivered. Number one, there is a continuity of the system as well as the war which Iran and others are fighting. It will have a long duration capacity. One, this is continuity message gives this. Second, control. Now, Mojtaba is going to control the overall system, and the 31 IRGC command may also be behaving in a unison. And third, that legitimacy. That the legitimacy, he has also given the signal that...
Dr. Hussain, let me ask you this question. Why have they chosen him? they could have chosen any other person with that degree of knowledge or command of the system. Why did they choose him?
I consider him as a wartime head, just like
Okay.
Churchill.
Are you
So
saying
he
that?
is
Are you saying this is a temporary arrangement, but then leaders are for their lifetime?
he may be targeted. Thereafter, if he proves his mettle, people may accept him fully. Otherwise, the administration and the setup has fully backed him, and he is there to stay in power and continue the threat posed by Israel and the statement that Trump president said that he will not accept him. So it is a kind of determination from Iranian side by choosing Mojtaba, and he has a very close relation with IRGC and other paraphernalia of the state which are continuing in the war.
Okay, Ambassador, what is your opinion? Why was he chosen? I mean to say, what is the message? Is the message of continuity? But why him?
Because of the fact that he had developed very close links with the IRGC. His father was the supreme leader. And Mojtaba Khamenei, from what I have come to know, has been playing a very active and important behind the scenes role. So, while his aged father was the face of the regime, there were a lot of important people who were playing important roles behind the scenes, and he was foremost among them. So now what is being suspected and what is being said is that while the 1979 revolution was designed to end the dynastic rule, a new form of political dynasty specifically centered around the supreme leader and the IRGC has emerged. And so this revolution effectively replaced a pro-Western, secular, autocratic monarchy with a revolutionary, anti-Western, theocratic one.
Are we looking at another North Korea? I mean, so it's an example I'm quoting, or another Syria, Ambassador, there?
Well, let's see how things play out. Dr. Zakir Hussain mentioned that things are in great turmoil, which indeed they are. So, given the circumstances, perhaps he was felt, the clergy and the assembly of experts felt that he was the most suitable person to handle things in this very critical time. But now that he is appointed supreme leader, he's there to stay, as Dr. Zakir Hussain said. He can't be removed by the assembly of experts because that power doesn't rest with the assembly of experts. Of course, what happens in the war situation, who gets targeted, who survives this very critical sort of situation, one doesn't know. But at the moment, he has been chosen the supreme leader because of expediency, because he was acceptable to the IRGC and also to the assembly of experts, and both felt that he would be the best person to lead Iran in these very difficult circumstances.
Dr. Hussain, then in what way Iran becomes different from Oman, Saudi Arabia? I think only state which is behaving differently is Iraq. They have an elected premier. All other states are dynastic.
No, Iran is quite different from these monarchical states. They are by birth. And here an assembly of expert of 88 people with 8 years long experience can select them with a nominal majority, as well as the candidate must be passed, accepted by the council of guardians of 12 members, of which 12% is appointed by the Chief Justice and 12% by the previous Ayatollah. But the Ayatollah Khamenei did. So the Chief Justice, the security personnel, and the Prime Minister, President were there to select the people as a credential, whether they suits. 4 people were in the race, and only he was selected by the assembly through secret ballots. So the process is not like the Gulf monarchs or North Korea. Here, ample room is there, And the criteria of selecting is this, that he should be expert in jurisprudence of Shia, that is fiqh. Second, he should be efficient in administration. Third, he should be well aware about political, economic, and social affairs of the region and strategic issues. And on that basis, the person is selected by the Council of Guardians, and then voting takes place. It's a tedious, long process to select. Otherwise, these monarchies have no. We can only doubt that he was the son of Mojtaba.
Okay.
That's why question arises, and USA got a good chance to create propaganda that dynasty is going.
Dr. Hassan, this is an open question to you and also to Ambassador Dayal. Can I say, IRGC that was created to protect the revolution now controls the children of the revolution?
Is it to me or to Dr.
Dr. Hussain, and then I'll take the closing comment from you, sir.
Okay.
This happens to everywhere where revolution takes place. At first they come to change the government, then they start ruling their own people who support them. But it's a very tough question to answer. Of course, you have put a very complex question. And if you think that really Iranian regime is controlling its people, we can see that the people, large number of people joined the funeral sessions of the children killed by
I don't want to sit
USA.
as a judge. I don't want to sit as a judge.
So there are various indicators through which we can say that he may not be ruling the children of revolution.
No. My question was very simple. IRGC was created, and this is to the closing comment from Ambassador Prabhu Dayal. IRGC was created to protect the ideals of the revolution, to protect the revolution. So my question to you, sir, is the same organization which was created to protect the ideals of the revolution controls the children of the revolution?
Well, that's an interesting way of putting it. The fact is, Iran is today going through a very difficult situation. It is facing a huge attack by the United States and by Israel. So although Mr. Mojtaba Khamenei or Hujjat al-Islam Mojtaba Khamenei may hold the title of the leader, the true power in this situation lies with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or the IRGC. And the supreme leader will be only its political and religious face. When things change and we return to a peaceful situation, let's see how the system evolves. But at the moment, he is being installed there so that things can be held in place. And the IRGC is the real fighting force which is handling the ground situation.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador Dayal. Thank you, Dr. Zakir Hussain, for joining me on this. A revolution which happened to fight the dynasty in itself has turned dynastic. That's the irony of all. So this was on point one, but don't go away. In on point two, we are going to talk about with oil surging and prices fluctuating, energy infrastructure is under stress in West Asia. Are we heading towards a big oil shock? Iran war is no longer just a military conflict. It is rapidly becoming an economic shockwave for the entire world. Global markets opened the week in turmoil. Oil prices surged sharply, with Brent crude jumping more than 20%, briefly touching $114 a barrel. It is the biggest single-day spike since the pandemic. And when oil moves like this, the entire global economy feels the tremor. Stock market across Asia plunged. Futures in the United States are also pointing sharply lower. The fear is simple: expensive oil means expensive living. Higher fuel prices push up the cost of transport, manufacturing and food. The fuels that inflation squeezes household budgets and makes it harder for central banks to cut interest rates. And there is another worry. Iran's military has warned that the oil infrastructure across the region could become targets if Israeli strikes on Iranian facilities continue. Across the Gulf, energy and economic infrastructure are under threat, and we are already seeing signs of how wide this battlefield could become. For instance, in Bahrain, drones struck a desalination plant while a missile targeted the Bapco energy refinery. If these attacks intensify, the consequences could be enormous. Iranian military warns oil prices could shoot up to $200 per barrel if conflict continues.
آمریکای جنایت پیشه و رژیم درمانده صهیونیستی با توجه به اینکه از آغاز تهاجم به ایران اسلامی دستاوردی جز کشتن کودکان بیگناه و معصوم و زنان و مردان بیدفاع و غیر نظامی نداشتند، علیرغم ادعاهای واهی و ریاکارانه و ژست جانبداری و دفاع از مردم ایران علاوه بر کشتن غیر نظامیان و به خاک و خون کشیدن آنان، پا را فراتر از این گذاشته تا جایی که در تهاجم‌های وحشیانه بی حد و مرز جدید خود بخشایی از زیرساخت‌های سوخت، انرژی و مراکز خدمترسانی متعلق به مردم را آماج هجوم وحشیانه خود قرار دادند. نیروهای مسلح جمهوری اسلامی ایران با عنایت جدی نسبت به منافع مردم مسلمان مستقر در کشورهای منطقه با وجود اشراف اطلاعاتی، توانمندی هجومی و شناسایی تمامی زیرساخت‌های سوخت، انرژی و خدمات عمومی در منطقه تاکنون از هر گونه اقدام مشابه خودداری نمودند و اگر تحمل نفت بیش از بشکه‌ای $200 را دارید، این بازی را ادامه دهید.
So the big question is no longer just about the battlefield. Can the world economy survive another oil shock? Indian government on the other hand has said they are ramping up the gas production. There will be no rise in the petrol prices or diesel prices. Enough aviation turbine fuel is available. There has been no problem when it comes to a strategic reserve. In context of India, things are good. Even the 25-day wait for LPG is to prevent hoarding. And diesel and petrol prices are to remain stable. This is in context of India. The government through sources has clarified on this issue. I'm joined by Ujjwal Singh Bhatia, former ambassador to WTO, and Pathikrit Pain, senior research fellow, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Research Foundation. Thank you both of you for joining me. Let me straight away go to Ujjwal Singh Bhatia. Sir, today the Reuters reported that there will be a meeting of G7 very soon and they'll take the decision to release 400 million barrels of oil. Do you think that these knee-jerk reactions or these knee-jerk decisions will be able to calm down the larger global supply of oil, or they will only work in short term?
I think that the defining dynamic of this war as of now is uncertainty. We do not know about the trajectory of this war. We do not know about the timelines, when it's expected to end. So any thoughts on this issue as of now can merely be speculative. I think one of the biggest problems is that with the decapitation of the Iranian leadership, there is nobody for people to negotiate with. And the IRGC itself has split into, some say, around 31 different command centers which are autonomous. And therefore, there is little coordination between them. Now, these reflect growing uncertainty, as do the Israeli attacks on Iranian oil facilities on Saturday and the US attacks on Iranian tankers today. And God forbid if Kharg Island is attacked, and that handles around 80% of Iranian exports, the fat will really be in the fire. So as of now, I think the G7 initiative is only, I do not think it can restore confidence to the markets. It is not so much the closure of Hormuz by Iran, which is important, but the fact that the insurance market has collapsed and the London reinsurers are unwilling to underwrite this kind of colossal risk involved in reinsuring movements of VLCC tankers. So overall, we see an environment of uncertainty. We do not know what tomorrow will bring. But as far as India is concerned, I think there is no cause for panic. The macroeconomic fundamentals are strong. The government has given certain assurances, very credible assurances about oil and gas supply. And I think we should be comfortable as far as the present is concerned.
Okay. Pathikrit, my question is slightly technical. You know, India has diversified its oil sources purchase. But when it comes to gas, which is LPG and LNG, we have few countries dependent. Will that be a pain point? Can that be a pain point?
Well, absolutely, yes. It is going to be for quite some time. It may not be in the short run, but in the long run, you have to find alternates. And we have to understand that from Russia, we aren't just taking oil. It has a huge potential for selling gas as well. One of the biggest exports of Russia to Europe before the war started on Ukraine has been gas and not oil. So you have to diversify and find out every other means which bypasses the Middle East. That has to be done. See, let's understand one thing. I think we will fundamentally make a mistake if we presume that inflation, panic, rise in price was not one of the part of the agenda of this conflict. That is one thing we have to be very careful about, because if you look at the common line or thread that connects the restrictions on Russian oil, capturing of the Venezuelan oil, and what is happening in Middle East, all the three countries have been selling oil in non-dollar denominations. And that is where there's a problem fundamentally the West and especially the United States always had. That any country which wants to sell oil or gas in non-dollar denomination, they consider it as a direct challenge to the dollar. And for a country which has $39 trillion of debt, the only way they can sustain the price and the value of dollar is by exporting inflation. What better way to export inflation if you can do it by raising the price of oil? And let's understand, whether it's war or whether it's the energy market, rise in price is not bad for those who are involved in the business. It's big money. The insurance companies make a lot of money. The hedge funds make a lot of money. The investment banking companies make a lot of money. And so they're okay with it. It's not that the West came to this war, especially the United States, to create a better world, to reform Middle East and to stabilize the price of oil. The reason that India has consistently maintained equidistance, whether it's from the Russia-Ukraine war or the Middle East war, is because India understands what actually is happening. That's why we have diversified. And the diversification is not just in case of oil, it's with gas as well. I think it's very clear. Number one, we have worked out a route, the Vladivostok-Chennai route, which bypasses the whole of Mediterranean route or the Red Sea route and now the Strait of Hormuz. The Vladivostok-Chennai route is one area where you have complete relative security, if not entire security. That's one thing that has been worked out. And secondly, you will very soon find that via Russia, through Russia, whether it is directly with Russia or the Central Asian countries, you would have major gas deals happening, because that's the only way you can sustain your economy, because there are certain countries who do not want the non-dollar denominated energy supply to countries like China and India. There is a thought process in many of the Western think tanks that China is today's problem, India is going to be the problem for tomorrow. And that you could see that echo in some of the top leaders coming and speaking about openly that we will not make the same mistake with India as we have done with China. So let's understand, the premise of this war is not to create a better de-radicalized Middle East. It's about controlling the source of energy. Controlling source of energy itself creates a lot of leverage for Washington. Now, the problem is they may have miscalculated. They did not anticipate the kind of retaliation, the kind of response they're getting from Iran, and that this war is going to be long drawn. What happens then? Well, then it's a completely different thing. And I think India has worked it out. It's not that India has not anticipated it. We have been pretty okay in terms of ensuring that if it goes to 50 days, you will see major deals happening with Central Asia.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point, Ambassador. In your opinion, how long can we avoid the sticker shock in terms of oil prices?
Well, as I said, the defining dynamic now is uncertainty. So it would be stupid for me to speculate as to how long this thing is going to last. But for the moment, and I'm talking about, let us say, for the next 2 months or so, I think India has the basics in place. India has the supply lines in place. India has the financial resources in place to bear this pain. We certainly hope that this matter will be resolved in that time frame. But the question is, as Patrikrit has said, the pain must affect all, not only the third parties. And it's only when the United States and Israel start to feel the pain that we will see some urgency in negotiations to conclude this. But for the moment, because of the leadership vacuum in Iran, really I don't see how this negotiation can be held till such time as Mojtaba and his group consolidate their power over the IRGC.
So going by this, do you think that America can sustain that pain for a long period of time? I think they're self-sufficient when it comes to oil, shale, gas.
I think the issue is about the American financial markets and specifically the treasury bills. And once we have a run on the bonds and the T-bills action starts, I think there will be a domestic political reaction in the United States economy, and considering that the United States is going to midterms in November, I think there will be a policy review. But so far, the pain of the war has not touched the United States as much as it has other countries. For instance, gasoline prices have increased, but quite moderately compared to, say, Europe or other places. But it's only when the food bills start rising, gasoline starts rising, and the financial markets react that we will see some response in the United States.
Particularly, it's very ironical that, this is the first time when America has gone into a war, the ratings of the president of the United States of America has not soared, No, but it looks like, he's getting immune to his domestic public opinion. There is no rating surge. Polls are saying 54 to 60% of the Americans are against this war. He's gone back on his own words of those endless, everlasting wars. But he has continued.
Well, you have to understand many of these presidents sometimes are helpless when it comes to these conflicts. They are inevitable. I mean, they just have to agree to that. That's how probably, I don't know whether I'm permitted to use the word deep state or not, but that's how it works out. Secondly, yes, I think what happened in case of Iran
I don't think any big brother is watching you here. So you can use the word deep state.
Let them watch. I have said it many times. The issue is this, that, the Venezuelan success is something that gave a sense of confidence that if we do it, we can do it very soon and we'll be back home and we can say that we are victorious. We are the ones who are actually giving freedom to the world. The problem is what Iran is doing is something dangerous. What is dangerous? That it's no more about the security of the Strait of Hormuz. They are actually targeting the critical energy infrastructure of the Arab states, which have flourished at the cost of sanctions on Iran for a long period of time. So even when the Strait of Hormuz gets taken care of, like it becomes safe, the infrastructure hit on the energy, supply chain is so profound that it will take months for them to get it recovered or repaired. Then what happens? So then by the time the midterm happens, I think Iran is actually banking of that. They target the critical energy infrastructure and, impound, casualties, so that by the time the midterm comes, there will be questions. If you look at the body language of many of the American leaders, you don't see them, they're showing a kind of desperation. These are not the language that we hear now of those who are actually in control of what is happening. In any case, there is never a control when it comes to a conflict in Middle East. Conflicts in Middle East have always, been prolonged. You talk about a conflict from 1980 to 1988 between Iraq and Iran. That those days, Saddam Hussein was the darling of United States and Saudi Arabia. That war went for eight years. And even then there was a ceasefire with, done by United Nations. They could not defeat Iran. Look, I have no sympathy for the Iranian regime. We know how, how radicalized and what all they have done. But I think the war gaming that they did with all the artificial intelligence in place did not anticipate the kind of asymmetric warfare capability maybe Iran has worked upon, where they're okay with being in complete poverty and still fighting for it. This is where the problem is. If you see these visuals that you're showing, this is what the Arab states are not ever faced. The Arab states never presume that they will be the ones targeted. I think
it's like robbing of their equity. It's like robbing them of their equity. Safe haven, tax-free place, disciplined society. You can come work and go back home. You never expected their hotels, desalination plant, electric grids, all would be attacked.
And if you see, I think the biggest anguish that the Iranians have, and you can find that out, is because they think that every missile or fighter plane which goes into Iran travels to the Arab airspace, and none of them stop it. None of them give the early warning message to the Iranians. And secondly, they have flourished at the cost of the sanctions on Iran. So they are hitting the ones. If they're just saying that even if the Israelis don't want this war to happen, the Arabs would have forced it to happen. That's the sectarian violence, the sectarian part of this conflict. it's not just about Iran versus Israel. There are sectarian aspects, there are ethnic
Absolutely.
aspects.
There's a huge and a deep Shia-Sunni dividing line. I mean, say it was unbridgeable in past. It looks like unbridgeable even today. Thank you both of you for joining me on this part of the On Point. But for my viewers, don't go away, because after the break we'll have On Point 3, and this is about how the widening Iran war is threatening China's billion-dollar economic footprint across West Asia.
एसोसिएट स्पॉन्सर्ड बंधन म्यूचुअल फंड।
इन्होंने हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस नहीं लिया और हॉस्पिटल्स के लाखों के